Welcome to Lesson 1D. Quick reminder, you are supposed to be printing or having the in-class lesson 1D in front of you so that you can mark on it, as well as have a glossary or flashcards, sticky notes, some things that you can be highlighting and remembering, glossary words, vocabulary words, and their processes. This lesson is talking about another new concept called Borda count. It starts by saying, recall that in 1C, we did talk about an interviewing committee trying to elect an appropriate applicant to fill a job position. In this lesson, we're going to look at another method called Borda count. It says, suppose the committee's preference schedule looks like the one shown below, and then it asks a couple of questions. How many people are on the committee? And does anyone have the majority? You should answer this question before you watch the demonstration on how to solve this question number 1. So I would hit pause, write down some answers, and then come back. So looking at part A, how many people are on the committee? When you look at how many people are on the committee, this is where I would touch, I would use, oh wow, we're going to undo that one. So now that that's gone, we do need to notice how many voters there are. Do highlights, circle, draw, help your eyeballs to see how many voters there are. And with circling, I can see that there are 1 plus 3, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 people on the committee. How many are going to be needed for majority? We know that that's going to be divided by 2. So 4, that's half, but majority is a little bit more. In this case, talking about humans, it's going to be 4 plus 1, or 5 is going to be our majority. It then asks, does anyone have the majority? So let's change color here, and let's talk about Alex got 1, 2, 3, 4. So Alex has 4 votes. Blake has 1, 2, 3, 4. So right now we have a tie. We are going to keep looking at this, but do make notes that no one has a clear majority. I'd like you to read through the objectives on your own or by following along and underline things that stick out to you or things you want to remember. Like in the first bullet, earning the most votes may not be enough to win an election. The second bullet, there are multiple considerations, things you might want to underline, multiple considerations and methods for ranking candidates in an election, and that multiple ranking methods can be employed to make decisions about other issues, family, life, job, school. And for this lesson, we're going to employ a thing called Borda count. So you should start flashcards, glossary, as I've mentioned several times before, to determine the winner. I will make note right here, whatever method you are going to use and whatever decision you are trying to make, the method should be decided before the election or vote takes place of how you're going to deal with any kind of discrepancies, any way that you want to deal with determining a winner. And finally, apply and justify selection strategies. Why did you pick what you picked to get those results, and definitely that you picked them before the actual election. Moving on to question number 2, look at your in-class lesson and look at what it says there. Hang on. Look at what it says there. Read along with question 2 parts while I make notes on the actual chart itself. I would do question 2 in its entirety before watching this demonstration. So this is a good time to pause, take care of question 2, and then come back for the demonstration. Question 2 says, in the Borda count method, voters' choices are given weights. I would underline and highlight weights. In an election with 3 choices, a voter's first choice is going to get 3 points. The second choice, 2, and the third choice, 1. A cool thing about this class is being able to pull information out of a paragraph and then apply that information. I would use highlighting and a lot of thinking, even talking out loud, whatever is going to be helpful to you. But I like to write. In other words, if the voter's first choice is worth 3 points, then here is a voter and their first choice was Alex. So Alex gets 3 points because one voter called them first. But three voters are going to have 3 votes and 3 votes and 3 votes for their first choice. In other words, Alex is going to get 9 from this group. And the same thing here with Blake. He's going to get 3, 3, and 3, or 9. And then out of this one, he will get 3. So part A says, write these point values in the appropriate cells in the first column. And where students mess up on this is they don't make note that there are 3 voters in this column and they just start applying maybe a 3 here instead of a 9. So we got the 3 points applied. It says second place is going to get 2 points. So with one voter, we get 2 here. There are 3 voters, so we get 6 here. Another 3 voters is 6. And again, that's 3 voters times 2 points for each of their second place votes. And then 1 vote here is a 2. We'll finish this up because the paragraph said that third choice is going to be worth 1 point. So in this case, 1 voter, 1 third place is 1 point. 3 voters, if they're getting 1 point each, then we've got 3 points here. The same thing for Charlie at this spot and 1 right here. So part A says, let's write these point values in the appropriate cells. We did that. Now look at part B. Column 2 represents 1 voter. I wrote this in the wrong place. They want us to put 3 there, 2 here, and 1 here. I went a little bit faster than what I was supposed to because now part B says column 2 represents 1 voter. So in other words, right here, they're telling us that this is 1 voter, and I'd already mentioned that. Sorry about that. How many points did that voter give Alex? And that's where we would see that in this case, he would give him 3, he or she. And then it says, go ahead and do this and put all of this on column 2. And so we've already done that on column 2. Now go to part C that says in column 3, how many total points did Alex receive? And notice that like right here, it's going to be the 3 times 3. How many points did Charlie and Blake, and fill in all the columns and continue on to 4 and 5. I'm going to go ahead and go on. Yep, that's what we've already done. We've already put those points in there. So then part D says, how many total points did each candidate receive? So I'm going to go up here and I want to talk about Alex. And I'm going to go different color. And for Alex, I'm going to say, here's Alex. Here is Alex. Here is Alex. And you've just got to learn ways to make your eyeballs behave, make them focus on what's going on, and be real specific and not miss the details. So Alex gets a 3, a 9, a 6, and a 1. So 15 plus 3 is 18 plus 1 more. So Alex gets 19 votes. They want us to do all. So now we'll do Blake, and I'll change colors on Blake. Let's go for a kind of purple here. And then Blake is here. It's going to get messy real fast, so you may want to have multiple pins or whatever method seems best for you to be able to see all the pieces. So Blake has a 2, a 3, a 9, and a 3. 2, a 3, a 9, and a 3. And while we're possibly getting bogged down into what we're doing, you need to keep reminding yourself that this method is called Borda count. And whenever you see something like this on the test, I will say, use Borda count method to determine the winner of this election. And to do that, you're going to have to do a process similar so that you can calculate total votes. And down here, 5 and 9 is 14 plus 3 more is 17. And then finally, we'll do Charlie's information. And so Charlie gets a 1, a 6, a 3, and a 3. So Charlie's got a 1, a 6. Sorry about the equals I keep doing. A 3 and a 3. 6 and 6 is 12, and 1 more is 13. And so if you're looking at part D, it is asking what are the total amount of points that, and I did that. Something doesn't look right. Where does it not look right? I'm going to pause and double check this. I'll be right back. So I'm back, and here's my mistake. This orange does not go with Charlie. This one goes with Charlie. So it's actually a 2. So we have 7, 10, and 12. And we'll be talking about how to catch that when working on your homework or on a test. So we have the totals. Alex is at 19, Blake at 17, and Charlie at 12. Keep looking down your page in front of you and notice that it says in Part E, if that person, Part D, how many points did each candidate receive and who should be offered the position? Well, with 19, Alex is our winner and should be offered the position based on the board account method. But then Part E says, so if you already took a position, a job, and turns down the offer, should the committee offer the job to somebody else? So if Alex turns down the job, should we come down here and offer it to Blake or to Charlie? And you need to write down your opinions because it appears that Blake is close enough that they could offer the job to Blake. That is a possibility, and it asks you on Part E, if so, who and why. And I would say because Alex and Blake's scores are so close, that would be acceptable. I don't think it would be acceptable to offer it to Charlie. That's pretty far away, but you need to take a minute to make sure you've got all of this stuff written down and that you go ahead and answer Part E as well as Part F. How many points does each voter award to candidates? Now that may sound like it's repeating itself, but notice what it says and underline how many points does each voter award to candidates. And it might be best to come back with a totally different color, maybe black. And I guess you could say that's not a color, that's the absence of color, but I'm going to go right here because this one person is able to award 3, 2, sorry about that one, 1. So each individual voter is allowed to give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 votes. So if each voter is allowed to give 6 votes, Part F says how many points does each voter award to candidates? Well, 6. And then how many total points, and that's where you need to underline to see the distinction, are then available to candidates? How can you use this information to cross-check all of your work? Remember that we had, if you can see through this, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 voters, 5, 6, 7, 8 voters. And if they had 6 points each, that means there are 48 possible points out there for grabs. So a quick double check with our 19, our 17, and our 12. Always look for double checks in your mathematics to be able to especially check a test before you turn it in. And like this, if I have 19, 17, and 12, if I add these up, I have 16, 17, 18, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Whenever we counted the candidates' results, we got 48 votes. And then over here, we decided that each voter was going to give 6 votes, and that should add up to be 48. And a quick look, our 48 and our 48 match. So we've got some good information going on. It's now time to look at question 3. Go ahead and look at that. Hit pause, look at it, write an answer, and then come back. The final question in lesson 1D is number 3, talking about advantages and disadvantages. Does the point method of a board account election method provide compared to the elimination method, which was the instant runoff? Explain your answer. Again, this is your opinion on advantages and disadvantages, but there is much value in taking a minute to write down those advantages and disadvantages, even in some columns, but to give yourself some idea of what you agree with and what you disagree with to help your brain process that what you've been talking about is the Borda count election. And it would be a good time to go back and review. So what's the instant runoff? And even talk about its advantages and remind yourself of its disadvantages. I want to show you one more thing before we close this lesson. In my math lab, all of your resources are there. You've already found student materials to print, and you've already found the in-class notebook because that's where you're getting your in-class pages that we're using during the lessons. But I want to take a minute to point out the resources. All of these are live links that take you to resources available in the back of your electronic book. Or if you have the bundle from the bookstore, it's in physical or hard copy. If you're stuck on pieces of information or concepts in your previews or practices, this is a great resource to go look at for further clarification on how to do the mathematics. Use other resources. You can go online, you can visit many kind of resources, including our math lab at the campuses or any of our campuses. But the one I want to point out is this writing resource or writing principles resource. As the semester goes along, we'll end up writing more of our items to give a better description of what mathematics we did, what the results are, and then maybe a comment on what it means or how it applies to something, but we're going to grow in our writing. So I highly encourage you to take a minute to go look at the writing principles, glance through those, and glean some information on what our writing is going toward. And we'll be practicing that, but I just wanted to take a second to tell you the writing principles are there. It would be good to go look at them, but this finishes lesson 1D.